Captain's Log Supplemental. So, Supergirl was renewed, but Agent Carter was unfortunately canceled, and I wanted to go ahead and do logs on each of these. We've got one show that I liked a lot that is getting picked up happily, even though it's having to go over to CW, but another show that I also liked a whole lot that is getting canceled, and this comes really as no shock to me. Honestly, what surprises me more than anything is that ABC didn't tell us about this earlier. We're in the days, these last couple days, where the networks have to finally announce what things are being canceled and what things are moving forward. And a lot of the time, when something isn't doing real hot, you'll find out about it a lot earlier than this, because there's it seems like if it took this long, that means that we were kind of going back and forth and we couldn't decide. And the only reason I can see that ABC wouldn't have canceled this already when its numbers weren't nearly as good, for whatever reason, as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because, in my opinion, both seasons are leaps and bounds above that show, both in writing quality and just in entertainment value. The only thing I can see is that ABC and Marvel couldn't decide what exactly their strategy moving forward was going to be for their network Marvel television shows. The fact that this was announced simultaneously with, and I realized that a lot of things that were being canceled or being renewed were all announced at the same time, but I suspect that we weren't told about this earlier because ABC couldn't decide if it was going to pass or move forward with Marvel's Most Wanted, which was supposed to be the Mockingbird show, and the idea was that we'd have a spin-off from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that would be the further adventures of Hunter and Bobby. Or Bobby and Hunter, I guess, because she'd be the front runner character in that. And that was a thing that was announced a long time ago. I think like a year and a half ago. We were told we might get we were supposed to get a Mockingbird show, and then it was restructured, redeveloped, and now ABC has decided, no, we're not going to do that. This creates a really interesting precedent, because for a while there, it looked like maybe if it was a Marvel show, if it had Marvel's logo on it, it was going to stick around no matter how well it did. Agent Carter didn't have great numbers last year either past the pilot compared to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I was really surprised that it got renewed for a second season. And that made me think, wow, they have a certain amount of money they're going to throw at Marvel stuff, and pass or fail, they're going to keep it around at least for a few seasons, and that seems now to maybe not be the case, and that's a good thing in some respects. It means that if a show gets made and it's not that great and people don't like it, they might not keep it around just because it's a Marvel thing. A lot of people that don't like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And think it's really boring are saying, why not just cancel that? Agent Carter is a way better show. But of course, it's based on the numbers, and for whatever reason, as I said, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is still doing well enough to make sense to stay on that network, and so it's going to go for at least another season. I think there's a really good chance that the numbers continue to decline enough for that show that it gets canceled next season, but I guess it's been steady enough that it's still, Agent Carter was at like 4 million viewers and toward the end of its last season. And it's a season replacement thing, kind of. It starts in January, and it's this thing that they were doing in the middle of the hiatus for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but wasn't doing didn't have nearly as good a numbers as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did. So, I suspect that as long as it doesn't dip down to where that was, as long as it's over 4 million, it's probably going to stick around. This is not a big giant deal to me. Like I said, really like this show, but I thought it was a treat that we got what we got. I was really surprised to see it even renewed for that second season. I thought the Hollywood move was really fun. I thought it was wonderfully different from the first season and went in a really cool, other sort of direction, but still was a really good, decisively spy show, which is not enough of what a lot of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has been. The only thing that's really potentially unfortunate about this is that the last time seeing Haley Atwell play this role is in a thing that was intended to keep going, and so now there's kind of a gap. I really would like to see the formation of S.H.I.E.L.D. dramatized, because that seemed to kind of be what we were promising with the beginning of Agent Carter. You know, you figured we were working up to that eventually. Maybe we would keep, you know, skipping forward. Maybe the next season we'd skip forward even farther than we did before, and by 4 or 5 we would go ahead and do a season that led to that showed us the events that led to the formation of S.H.I.E.L.D. Here's my prediction. I think that's still going to happen. I think we'll see that. I think it's going to happen in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agent Carter is a spin-off from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. pretty directly. There's an episode I want to say the mid-season finale of the first year is it the first year or second? It's last year, and then, of last year, excuse me. I think I'm right about that. Yeah, I think it's last year. Sets up Agent Carter kind of it shows us the Howling Commandos. We have a flashback where we see them and we see Agent Carter, and that's kind of that was a teaser for an episode that dealt with, I think, some artifact or something that had to do with the days of Captain America or just after that, and the Howling Commandos. And especially because it's a direct spin-off, and because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is allegedly about S.H.I.E.L.D., I think we'll still see that happen, and Haley Atwell will get to come back and reprise that role again. If that doesn't happen, that's a giant missed opportunity. Here's how you could have kept Agent Carter on if you wanted Agent Carter to get several seasons. You put it on Netflix. And I said that from the very beginning. The format, the structure of that show did not make sense for network television in the way that it would have made sense for Netflix. Now, I did think it was smart that we fit it in between 2 parts of seasons for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You put it in the same time slot, and I imagine that got some viewers that might not have watched it otherwise. Well, it's still a Marvel thing. I'll give that a shot. But it wasn't a show that watched as well week to week as it did binging it, because it's a tight, 10, 13 episode season, just like the Netflix seasons have been so far. And I've heard some people say, whenever I've suggested something for Netflix, I keep suggesting that Spider-Man would make for a way better seasonal show than it does a movie series. And I still think that that's a thing that could potentially be cost-effective, even though people think that you can't do Spider-Man on the small screen because it's too expensive. I say, if you can make Flash even remotely passable, and that show looks pretty darn good for the CW, then you could do it with Spider-Man. I've heard people say, Cap, you keep suggesting stuff that is not dark enough for the Netflix gritty universe. But why would it have to be a dark, gritty show just because it's on Netflix? They're not separate universes. They both exist in the same universe, and both as in the movie stuff and the TV stuff. It's all in the same universe. So is that to suggest that just because it's on Netflix, people will assume that it's a really dark show that's too violent for children and that kind of thing? All you have to do is, in your logo, make it really clear that it's a family show somehow. Put in some kind of rating thing, or make it say all ages, or 7+ or 11, or whatever it is. Just have some ratings number thing, and there you go. There's no reason that something that is telling a full story in 13 episodes, or whatever, in a shorter season, that's clearly a tightly woven, a tightly put together narrative from beginning to end, where you could keep going, but you could cancel it if you want to. That's one thing I do really like about Agent Carter. There's one of the great things about Agent Carter, that if it got canceled, it's not as big of a deal. Yes, it kind of sets up stuff to continue if it wants. I mean, it does. It sets up things to continue if it wants to, but it's not like a big giant cliffhanger where there's a bunch of story we haven't told yet, with the exception of the formation of S.H.I.E.L.D. But of course, we already know that she did that, so it's just a matter of getting to see it happen. And as I said, I thought we were kind of, that's where we would eventually go. So I still would like to see that if we could, but that would just be kind of a nice filling in the blanks thing. You don't have to have that. But all I'm saying is that format makes so much more sense for a 10, 13 episode movie that you drop all at once, even if you want to keep making more down the line, just like we're doing with Daredevil and Jessica Jones, etc., etc. So anyway, what do you think about this news? Are you sad to see Agent Carter go? It was definitely one of the best things that we've been reviewing for the superhero comic shows here at Geekvolution, and I'm sorry to see it go, in that it's a good show, and it deserved to keep going, but I do think that it was, as I said, formatted in such a way where it's not this huge detriment where if it doesn't continue, we don't get the whole story. It will still be a thing that's very rewatchable, that you can go back to, and so that's a good thing. But what about you? Are you sad about this? Are you indifferent? Is it no big deal? And are you like me and you'd like to see Haley Atwell get to reprise Agent Carter to kind of have one last hurrah as that character? Leave your comments, let me know what you think, and in the meantime, this concludes another Captain's Log.